Today I'm going to share with you 4 essential qualities that I believe every godly man should have. And if you're a single woman watching this video, I want to encourage you to look for these 4 things in the man that you're currently dating before you say, I do. Coming up. Hey my friend, welcome back to The Beat. My name is Parr. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time here, it's a pleasure. If you want a free ebook and you want to understand the Bible a little bit better, click the link in the description box below. If you enjoy this video, consider subscribing, hit that little bell notification so you won't miss a beat. Okay, so today we are talking about what it looks like to be a godly man, and I have selected as my character this guy from the Old Testament named Boaz, and his story is actually highlighted in the book of Ruth. Now, to give you a little bit of background here about the story of Ruth, if you never read it, I want to encourage you to do so. But in the first chapter, we learned that some guy named Elimelech and his wife Naomi actually leave Bethlehem and go to a place called Moab because there was a famine in Bethlehem. There was no food there, so they went to look for food. And then after some time, they were there in Moab, but while they were there, their 2 sons actually got married to 2 women named Ruth and Orpah. Now, sadly, while they were there, not only did Naomi lose her husband, but she also lost her 2 sons, and now she is returning back to Bethlehem with her 2 daughters-in-law, one of which decides to leave and go back to her hometown, but this girl named Ruth actually clings to her, and now Ruth is trying to make ends meet. They're struggling financially, and she's looking for work, and she goes and finds work in this man named Boaz's field, and so we'll pick up the story in chapter 2. The first quality that we see about Boaz is that he pursued her. Notice what it says here in chapter 2, verse 5. It says, Boaz asked the overseer of his harvesters, who does that young woman belong to? So I want you to notice here that he was a man. He took a lead. Fellas, if you want to be a godly man, even in the dating process, in the courtship process, you need to show her that you are a leader, that she does not have to take control of the relationship. She doesn't need to lead you. She doesn't need to wait around for you to do certain things, that you are a man of your word. You're going to pursue her with reckless abandon. I actually have an entire video that talks about how to pursue a woman God's way. I'll put that link in the description box below, and I'll put a card somewhere up here on the screen as well. But the second thing that we see about Boaz is not only did he pursue her, but he also protected her. And I want to highlight 3 different ways that Boaz actually protected Ruth even before he actually married her. And the first is that he protected her physically. I want you to notice chapter 2, verse 8 and 9 says this. Boaz went over and said to Ruth, listen, my daughter, stay right here with us when you gather grain. Don't go to any other fields. Stay right behind the young women working in my field. See which part of the field they are harvesting and then follow them. I have warned the young men not to treat you roughly. Now I want you to notice later on in the story when Ruth goes home and tells her mother-in-law Naomi about her day, Naomi says this. She says, good, Naomi exclaimed. Do as he said, my daughter. Stay with his young women right through the whole harvest. You might be harassed in other fields, but you'll be safe with him. Brothers, I'm telling you, it is so important for you to create an environment for your woman to let her know that she is safe, she is protected. Women have a very strong need to know that they are going to be safe and protected physically with their man. But not only that, he also protects her emotionally as well. I want you to pay close attention to how Ruth described how Boaz made her feel based on how he spoke to her. She says here in verse 13, I hope I continue to please you, sir. She replied, you have comforted me by speaking so kindly to me, even though I am not one of your workers. Men, the tone of voice that we use with our women can greatly determine how safe they feel in terms of opening themselves up and being vulnerable and transparent with us. This isn't just unique to dating, it also continues into the marriage as well. So if we use a certain tone of voice to comfort them, to let them know that it is okay to open up, they're going to feel comfortable sharing their flaws, sharing the failures of their past, things that they're ashamed of, mistakes that they've made, relationships that they've had in the past, the scars from their past, things that have hurt them, things that people have done to them, things about their family background, things about their baggage. The more we set the environment and the atmosphere in the relationship, an atmosphere of safety and kindness, safeness and protection emotionally, she will open up and blossom in that relationship. But if we give the idea that she's going to be judged, or that she should be ashamed of certain things, or she shouldn't have done this or shouldn't have done that, then she's going to shut down and she's not going to be open and transparent with you because she doesn't feel safe and protected emotionally. But there's a third way that Boaz actually protects Ruth, not only physically and emotionally, but also sexually as well. So when you go to chapter 3, there's actually this strange story where Boaz actually is laying down. Maybe he's had a little bit too much to drink and eat. He's tired, and somewhere in the middle of the night, Ruth actually comes and gets into bed with him. Yes, they spent the night together, y'all. But the scripture is clear and careful to say that Ruth laid at his feet until morning, which lets us know that Boaz was a man of character. He did not violate her or take advantage of her because maybe she was feeling emotionally connected to him at that time, whereas many other men probably would have taken advantage of her. So in this way, Boaz protected her sexually. Listen, men, if you show this woman that you have self-control on the dating side, then she will have confidence that you will have self-control on the marriage side, because whenever you get married, you may not always get your needs met when you want them to get met. So if you develop the discipline when you're dating to be able to deny your flesh of what it wants, that discipline will carry over also into the marriage as well. But let me talk to the married men also, because sometimes, men, if our wives feel like all they are is just a piece of meat and all we want them for is their body, then over time they're going to shut down. What Boaz wanted to prove was that I'm interested in you because of your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, everything about you. And as a result, Ruth felt safe to open up to him emotionally, and then later on in marriage, physically, sexually as well. And the third quality of a godly man is one who provides for his wife and his family. I want you to notice here how Boaz, even on the dating side, was trying to prove to Ruth that he was in a position and had the desire to provide for her. Chapter 2, verse 16 says this, "And pull out some of the heads of barley from the bundles and drop them on purpose for her. Let her pick them up and don't give her a hard time." Verse 17, "So Ruth gathered barley there all day, and when she beat out the grain that evening, it filled an entire basket. She carried it back into town and showed it to her mother-in-law. Ruth also gave her the roasted grain that was left over from her meal." By letting Ruth take all of this food home to provide for her family, Boaz was basically trying to prove to her that I am in a position and have a desire to want to provide for you. So men, our women have just as strong a desire to be provided for and to feel financially safe and secure as we have the desire for sex in our relationship. It is literally that strong, and whenever they don't have that sense of security financially, they end up oftentimes getting insecure. So a godly man goes out of his way and does whatever he needs to do to provide for his wife and his family, and you can start demonstrating that desire before you even get married. And then the final quality that I see in Boaz is not only did he pursue her, not only did he protect her, not only did he provide for her, but he prioritized her. Now, if you read through the story in chapter 3, there was a couple little things that needed to be worked out before Boaz could actually marry her, and there were some details that he needed to actually work out and take care of on his own. But I want you to notice here the advice that Naomi actually told Ruth, because Ruth was starting to get a little nervous and maybe this deal wasn't going to work out. And Naomi says this, "Just be patient, my daughter, until we hear what happens. The man won't rest until he has settled things today." I want you to notice here that Boaz made Ruth a priority. He said, "Hey, you are so important to me that I'm going to make sure that I go above and beyond to handle what I need to handle so that I can take you as my wife." So in the same way, guys, I'm not saying that we shouldn't work. I'm not saying we shouldn't watch sports. I'm not saying we shouldn't go to the gym and have all these hobbies. We should do all of these things, but we need to create an environment in our relationships where our wives and our women know that, you know what, if I need my man at the drop of a dime, he is willing to put all these things aside for me and my family because we are the biggest priority in his life next to God. When our women ask us to do something and we come up with a whole bunch of excuses in terms of why we can't do it, all that does is send the message to her that she and the family is not a priority in our lives, which then creates insecurity in the relationship, which leads ultimately to a breakdown in the relationship. So if you're a single man and you're watching this video, and even if you're a married men, I want to encourage you to really assess how you are doing on these 4 things. Are you pursuing her? And ultimately, by the way, guys, you still have to pursue your wife even after you marry her. Are you protecting her? Does she feel safe, or does she feel disconnected and she feels like she can't trust and open up to you? Does she feel provided for? And finally, are you making this woman feel like a priority in your life? Ladies, if you're watching this video and you're not married, make sure that you see these 4 things in the man that you're dating before you make the decision to say I do and spend the rest of your life with him. If you found this video helpful in any way, feel free to share it with a friend. Also, if you haven't done so already, I would love it if you would subscribe. Check out some of the other videos on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time on The Beat.